Now entering the squared circle pit from Killswitch Engage, Mike D. Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you very much for having me.
Pro wrestling.
I'm stoked to talk about pro wrestling. I never get a chance to, so hopefully I'll say some good stuff for you.
Yeah, and if you don't, it's fine. We'll edit all the shitty stuff out.
I edit all the crap out.
Yeah, it's a busy week.
One question.
It's a busy week for you guys. You have a week-long New York residency. Your new album, Incarnate, comes out this Friday. By the time
sort of tonight, actually. We'll have him here tonight, so you can pick it up.
Well, by the time this airs, the album is out.
Okay.
The residency is over, and so we don't have to talk about any metal today on the show. We're just talking pro wrestling.
Woo!
No influences, no what were you thinking, just pro wrestling.
Great. Fantastic.
So, the first question I like to ask.
Rob Van Dam.
Okay, great. Rob Van Dam's your favorite wrestler. That's awesome. It's good start. I'm a big fan of Rob Van Dam.
Stone Cold as well.
Cool. Yeah, I like, right now my favorite wrestler is Sasha Banks.
Fantastic, right?
She is like so great, like so fully realized as a character, and I just love her confidence, and she's a great wrestler too, and it's awesome to have like a kick-ass woman wrestler.
And she's from Boston. She used to wrestle in NECW, which is the local wrestling thing in I think it was just Northeast.
Northeast Championship.
Yeah,
wrestling.
and she built her way up, but boy, oh boy, she's entertaining to watch, right?
Yeah, absolutely. She's the boss. So
her and Bailey, I like Bailey a lot too.
Yeah. I think like all the NXT divas are awesome. I like Charlotte,
sure.
especially like her heel persona right now with
better heel, I think, than the face.
Yeah. And I love Ric Flair as like the soccer mom,
Greatest,
who's like
right?
super into his daughter.
And like I kind of like it that he sort of makes it about him too.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I can't get enough Ric Flair.
Yeah, I mean Ric Flair. Actually, if I have to say who my favorite wrestler is, it is Ric Flair.
He's great. Wrestling, I like him a lot, but on the mic, he's probably my favorite mic work.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you get into pro wrestling? Was it when you were a kid? How did it start?
I used to watch like any kid would on Saturdays. I had a cousin that was really into it and had posters all over his wall. But I didn't really get into it till about 97. I was on tour with my old band Overcast, and we were on tour with a band called Disembodied. And every night after the show, they would have WCW Thunder on, and they would replay it like 2 or 3 times way late at night. So we'd finish a show and then watch Thunder, 1 a.m. or something like that. And I sort of just was kind of into it a little bit, but not particularly into the theatrics of it.
And
was
then this like during the NWO era? Yeah, 97, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And then I stumbled upon ECW, which was on the Spanish channel at my house. Happened to be channel surfing at 12 o'clock at midnight, and then just my jaw dropped when I was seeing some of the stuff that they were doing. And that led me down the ECW road. So I was watching that and going to house shows all the time. Just my buddy who put out the Overcast records, John Dudek, lived right down the street from the bingo hall. So anytime I was in that area, he's like, "Oh, let's go down and check it out." Or
at the ECW arena.
Yeah, at the ECW arena, and he was constantly telling me about Ring of Honor and a bunch of other underground promotions that were hard to see in Massachusetts. They just really never came around. And then when ECW died, I had to become a WWE fan. I really was resistant, though, but Stone Cold won me over.
So ECW is what drew you back into wrestling because of the realism and like the hardcore. It was pretty much like the heavy metal of pro wrestling. Right?
Exactly. And the theatrics were to a minimum.
Yeah.
It was just like go out there and battle, and who knows how this match is going to end up. It could start off as a 2 people against each other and then turn into a 3-way dance. And then all of a sudden a 4th guy will come out, and you just like all rules were out the window, but it was just so entertaining to watch. Like I couldn't get enough of it.
The best. Yeah. Even watching, I go back now on the network to watch the episodes because I actually discovered ECW very similar way to you did. I was just flipping the channels really late or something. Or actually in my parents' room, like I'm from Brooklyn, New York, we got Philadelphia channels for some reason. Like the antenna just caught the Philly stations.
Only in that room?
Yeah, only in that room. And like one night I was just like this one local UHF channel, Channel 48, I forget what it is, but they would have wrestling every night at 10 p.m. And so like one night was WCCW, one night was ECW. And then like I remember seeing ECW and just being like, this is insane. This is like all these old WWE, WCW guys, but they're so much cooler here. Like Johnny Polo was Raven, and I loved Raven, or Shane Douglas was much cooler than Dean Douglas. That he
Big
was
time.
WWE.
Yeah, they had control over their characters, and they could make them as cool as they wanted to make them, and not have to worry about a script telling them what to do.
And it was cool. It was like, I feel like wrestling before used to be pretty cheesy, especially WWF at the time in the 90s was very, very cheesy. The ECW was like hip. It was very current, and they had the Sandman who was like drinking beer or whatever.
Amazing.
Like,
The characters that would come out of there were so revolutionary.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you'd see things like that pop up in WWE, and you're
Right.
like, oh, I know where that originally came from.
Exactly. Yeah, like the WWF Attitude Era is essentially an ECW knockoff, but like Disney-fied.
Exactly.
To be more. I mean, it worked for them. They put WCW out of business.
It definitely worked for him. I love that Shane O'Mac is back now.
Yeah,
after 7 years?
That was really exciting when he
Just
came
speaking
back.
of the WCW, WWE, how they had that. Remember, I was on both channels when they were merging that one night, the last night of WCW. That was pretty crazy.
That was That was sad though. I was really bummed out because it was cool having two shows, even though the last 2 years of WCW were so bad.
It was really bad. The cruiserweights were great.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like WCW still presented an alternate style to WWE, and like they never really liked the cruiserweights. Except now they're going to be doing this cruiserweight series on the WWE network. I don't know if you heard about it. It's like a 10-week show.
Oh, really?
They're doing a 16-person invitational tournament where they're inviting 16 cruiserweights from all over the world who aren't signed to WWE to be in this tournament. And
is it going to be just network only?
Yeah, it's only on the network. It's going to supposed to be on right after NXT in the summer, and the idea is like to kind of audition these cruiserweights from around the world who are like free agents, and also they just signed this Mexican wrestler La Sombra a few months ago, and it's supposed to be kind of his platform to be like made.
Sweet.
In the network.
It's a great idea.
Cool.
I bet Triple H had a hand in that.
Yeah, that was, I'm sure it was. But let's go back to ECW, like the late 90s or whatever. Who were some of your guys back then? I know you mentioned Rob Van Dam.
Rob Van Dam, every time he came out, just the swagger. It was just a whole new style of doing a promo. Just being super egotistical and just hilarious.
And a stoner. First
complete
public
stoner.
Wrestling stoner.
He didn't have to yell at all to get his point across. And he was just so egotistical that you just laugh every time he would say something. Sabu, amazing.
Sabu, revolutionary.
Up until he just racked his body so much that you couldn't really deal with watch. He scares me now. I really can't see him. Upstairs, guys. Thank you. The crew just came in. Searching for the venue.
It's fun seeing musicians being completely lost in a venue.
Of course, Sandman, you can't not love his entrance.
Yeah.
Oh. And the fact that he couldn't wrestle a lick.
Yeah. I mean, he was all once the match started, you already saw the best part of the Sandman.
Right. Right.
But
Dudley boys back then were just unstoppable.
Such great heels.
New Jack was ridiculous. I don't even know if they could ever do that character in WWE because he was just nonstop.
And like really the music, like when you think about it, like with New Jack, what was the Ice Cube Dr. Dre song from America's Most Wanted?
Right.
Like just that hitting, like that cue, it's like everyone would go nuts. And it was just the music that did it.
Sandman.
Yeah, and like music was such an integral part of ECW. And what was cool is that they actually got figured out a workaround for this licensing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know how they did that. And
I feel like they probably didn't pay much licensing.
I know that WWE doesn't want to pay licensing. And when we did a song for them for CM Punk, it was like a split thing, and they just gave us money up front, and then they said, we own this now.
So let's get into that since you brought it up. As a wrestling fan, how cool was it when they approached you being like, we want your song?
Oh God.
Is that what, like, how did it first come about?
I think I left a stain in my pants. I was so excited. It was brought up to us through management that Joe Johnson, the guy at WWE that does all the music.
Jim Johnson,
sorry, had contacted us, and apparently Randy Orton really liked the band and wanted us to do a theme song for him.
Oh, cool.
And we were psyched. We were really, Howard and myself were really excited. We'd watch wrestling on the bus all together all the time, but the rest of the guys don't really get it. They're not into it at all. So it basically got pinned down to we we were practicing for a tour and getting ready to record a record, and they said, okay, we have one day to figure out. Okay, sorry. They sent us a track, and we're like, okay, you can either cover this song or you could redo it any way you want, but we kind of want the song sort of to go like this. And it was awful. It was like this new metal garbage. It was really, really... Everyone looked at each other and like, we don't want to touch this. So we left it on a shelf.
So they wrote a song for you to play, basically.
Yes, like a demo track
right,
for
so
us.
you guys were essentially just
follow.
session musicians.
Yeah, kind of. They
Yeah.
wanted it to be Killswitchized, I guess.
Right.
So I think that left a bad taste in the guys' mouths, especially ones that weren't into wrestling.
Right.
So it got left on a shelf until like the last day we could possibly do it. So we got to practice, and Howard and I were pushing. We really wanted to get this done. I rewrote a bunch of stuff, and I brought a demo to practice. And Adam was actually prepared and said, "Oh, I have a couple ideas too." So we just meshed the ideas, and in one day we wrote that track, and we're done with it.
Oh, so it started as like what they gave you as the demo, and you kind of just...
We reworked it
Yeah.
and made it into our song. So we weren't sure what was going to happen with the song. And all of a sudden, Randy Orton debuted with our song, and they put our logo down at the bottom. And I was so excited.
So they didn't even
freaking
give you
out,
like a heads
running
up?
No, not at all.
Because I remember like he came out with your song.
Yep.
And, I was like,
And then
sounds familiar.
and then so many people wrote in and said, we want Randy Orton's theme song changed back, that they changed it back the very next day.
Yeah, I remember it was only like on a SmackDown, right?
Yeah.
They played the song. And
I
then
have
was
it taped
done.
somewhere. And they're like,
Yeah.
the only thing Randy Orton has going for him now these days is his new song by Killswitch Engage. and everyone complained.
Right.
So I thought, okay, this thing's dead. They're never going to do anything
Right.
with it again. And then and then all of a sudden it popped up at a pay-per-view. I believe it was Judgment Day or something.
It was like the official theme of the...
pay-per-view, which is
Yeah.
cool because they play it nonstop. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, it had a little bit more life than just a one-time thing. That's
Yeah.
great. And then WWE put it out on a compilation of a bunch of other songs with a bunch of bands that we usually play with. Shadows Fall was on there. Brand New Sin was on there.
So it was just like a rock compilation.
Yeah, where people would do theme songs for the bands and whether for the wrestlers, and whether the wrestlers used the songs or not is a different story. Because I know Rob Van Dam didn't use the Shadows Fall track at all.
Right.
But Big Show uses the Brand New Sin track still to this day, and that was back 10, 15 years ago that was recorded.
I
He still
remember
uses that
Yeah.
song, which is really cool.
It's kind of iconic at this point, just that that cheesy song of his.
So then the pay-per-view happened, and I thought, okay, that's it. Well, we're never going to get played again, but that was cool. So
Yeah.
like a rush.
Yeah.
And then CM Punk, we had gotten word that CM Punk, the straight edge wrestler, was going to debut, and he was going to use our song. So I was taping it, and I saw
Yeah,
him.
and he debuted in ECW, like to bring it back together. Which
I
was
know,
so
which
cool.
was another thing. The first time I got to meet Phil, is his name. I told him that was the coolest thing ever. Not only to have a straight edge wrestler or a hardcore guy using our theme song, but also it was on ECW, my favorite brand of all time. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So, and then also I was actually just watching back the show in Chicago, Money in the Bank, which was supposed to be like his last night. And when he wins his title, the first thing you hear is, you hear the Killswitch track. How cool was that here? Like, how cool, like, did you guys ever go to see a show live when Punk was coming out to your music?
Yeah, MVP was another guy that we kept in contact with for quite a while, and Howard was really good friends with him. So he got us tickets to WrestleMania 23, the outdoor one at the Orange Bowl in Florida.
Oh, wow.
It was really fun. That was the one where the fireworks kind of hit people in the crowd.
Yeah, that was Ric Flair's retirement
Yeah,
show,
it was
right?
Ric Flair's last match.
Yeah. So that's cool. And so you were there, and CM Punk won the Money in the Bank that night too, I believe.
I think he
It
did.
was the opening
yeah.
match.
I just remember the Ric Flair thing, and then people were crying everywhere.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts.
That was cool. What was it like seeing, like, obviously going to, you've been to your fair shows, being a metalhead. Like, how does the wrestling experience compare to a metal experience?
I was bummed that we didn't get to go backstage and meet anybody or talk to anyone. Like, we got tickets through wrestlers, but we didn't talk to them once.
You just came and you came to the show.
It was bizarre. In that respect, it felt like less contact than, I don't know. It felt like empty a little bit. Cool, really nice of them to do. But we just wanted to say hi. But flash forward a few years later, and MVP and let's see, Hurricane Helms and the Hardy Boys all came out to a show to hang out, and we were hanging out on our bus with those guys, and really got a chance to sit down and actually have cool conversations with those kids. That kind of made up for all that other stuff.
That's really cool. So you mentioned this a little before about the payment. So if we could just talk, you don't have to give specific numbers, obviously, but so they give you like an upfront licensing, and then do they pay you every time it's played, or
it's just that's it.
Yeah,
and
it's a lump sum.
They dictate the deal because everyone wants to get on that.
Right. If you don't want it, they'll find someone else.
It's so much airplay. It's ridiculous. Every Monday night for 5 or 6 years, our song was played.
Yeah. So. Were you bummed when he came back and it was Living Color? And then
he was on us for about 2 years to try and do a cover of that song.
Oh, really?
He was telling us for a while that he was going to change. It was when he became heel, right?
It was when he left with the world title and then was out of contract and then came back with the world title. That was when he premiered. Because
he was telling us he was saving it for a special time, but he did want to change it to Cult of Personality. It was one of his favorite songs, and he wanted us to cover it. We just never got around to it.
Oh, that's cool. Well, that's cool that he wanted to.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. We met him quite a few times, and he became like a friend. So
yeah, that's cool. I mean, he seemed like the coolest dude, and it was always so cool to have like a hardcore dude.
Real easy to talk to.
Yeah, in wrestling. So that's cool. Let's see.
I remember I was asking him secret behind the scenes questions, and I said,
anything.
So if you're walking down the hallway at WWE headquarters and you happen upon somebody that you don't want to talk to, who would that person be? Like, who are the people you avoid? JBL.
Oh, really?
Right away. Triple H. Stephanie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, not too controversial after what happened with the fall. It's kind of bummed that he's gone now. I feel like he was really one of the reasons I watched at the time.
Was there something about him? He's I think his UFC match is going to come up soon, right?
He has an opponent.
Okay. So it is being booked.
Yeah. It's just I think he had some back surgery that he had to do, which kind of pushed back the debut. But, yeah, he's almost ready to debut. I'm kind of curious to see how he does it. Like, he's obviously taking it really seriously. I'm happy for him that he's happy, but
yeah, I don't know.
Just selfishly, I'm like, man, I want you back in wrestling.
I know, but I could see his point if standing against the real authority, I suppose.
Right? Yeah, like if they're not giving him a push, if they're not I think like what he really wanted was the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
and they just weren't going to give it to him. So he was like, well, I've done everything else. Why do I got to do this anymore?
Yeah, his main contention was the glass ceiling and not being able to break through.
Yeah. So what were some of your favorite like pay-per-views? What were like what are like if you can go back on the network, what would you put on?
I always do ECW pay-per-views. There's so much excitement. I rented every single one from the first one until the last one that they did, and I bawled my eyes out when it was over.
Yeah.
it was something I held close to my chest.
ECW Heatwave 98 is my favorite ECW pay-per-view.
That one's awesome.
That was the one with Rob Van Dam and Sabu versus the guy who played Hakushi in WWE and Hayabusa, who sadly just passed away.
Right.
And that was so cool because that was the first time I ever saw Hayabusa, and he was like, the way I compared him and Sabu were like Ken and Ryu in Street Fighter. Like they were like the same guy kind of, but like different outfits. So it was so cool seeing those guys wrestle. And
I don't remember the name of the pay-per-view, but the first time that Van Dam and Jerry Lynn met up was phenomenal. Beginning to end, one of the best matches I've ever seen.
I think that might have been Guilty as Charged. That was
I know it was like blue. I can see the colors in my head.
They always had the shittiest logos, though, I feel, with ECW. But I kind of like that about it. I like that they kind of didn't give it like the low quality aesthetic.
And they'd sell the T-shirts in between the matches and stuff like that.
Yeah, those were my favorite. The commercials for those tapes, like Born to Be Wired and like Hostile City, the scaffold match with Brian Lee. I always wanted to see the match. And I remember a few years ago, I finally watched it, and the commercial made it seem so much cooler than the actual match. Because when you think about it, like a scaffold match, you're basically two people are like 30 feet above the air, and there's tables all over. But the thing is, you have to have a match on a scaffold. Like, how much can you really do? It's just punches and kicks for like 5 minutes,
and then bam,
someone has to fall off. But the spot with the table was pretty cool. So, like, what were some of your So is it do you default to ECW or do you have any WWE?
I do.
WWF favorites?
I saved on the network the Judgment Day pay-per-view because I wanted to see our song again.
Nice.
I've never really watched it. I don't know. Let's see. The NXT pay-per-views have been blazingly awesome.
I love that. So you're into the more underground. You're into like the less mainstream appeal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, just because of the ECW background and just growing up with the DIY attitude, I feel like NXT really personifies that. Even though NXT took over for ECW when they were on that TNN channel,
right? If
you remember back then, I was so bummed that it was happening.
Really, I thought the ECW revival. I was like glad to see it go. I was glad to see it go. Yeah,
but I still was holding on. I thought one day they were going to get it right. I mean, Paul Heyman is one of my favorites, and I thought for sure if he had the reins, he would be able to get some cool stuff through management. But Vince has the last say. So
and Vince wasn't allowing him to have control. I actually went when ECW was revived. They did a show at the ECW arena, and I'd always wanted to go to the ECW arena. I was way too young when it was first around, so I convinced my friends. We took a bus to Philly, and it was a great experience. But it was the worst show. It was like so boring. It was such a shitty show. The only good match I remember was Rob Van Dam versus Kurt Angle, which, I mean, how could that not be?
Holy smokes.
Yeah, that was a really...
Kurt started...
Yeah, Kurt was in ECW when they revived it.
Big Show was there.
Yeah.
I saw a few of the WWE ECW shows. I didn't think they were that bad. It was all right. But it was okay, but it wasn't ECW.
Yeah. And so Paul Heyman came out at that show, and people were pissed. People were chanting, "This show sucks. This show sucks. We want a refund." Like this is the fucking ECW crowd in Philly. They're not going to hold back.
Yeah, of course.
And he gave this whole like rah-rah speech of like, "Please, I know it sucks. Please just stick with it, and then maybe he'll let me do it." It was so even he was admitting it was shitty, and it was like, okay, this is never going to happen.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But I love Paul Heyman. I'm glad he's back on TV. Him and Brock Lesnar.
So good.
Brock Lesnar is just unreal, like so fun to watch.
They really made him into a monster, and I wish they would take that lead and do some stuff with other people in that way of just having them win, and just be an unbeatable, crazy character. Because who do you really think Brock can't beat at this point? Like he should have the belt. He should be the top guy. I feel like. I mean, he's a monster. He's ginormous.
He's unbeatable. I think that's kind of what they're trying to do now, and I feel like they're gonna allow Roman Reigns to be the first one to beat him because they're trying
you think so?
Well, they're trying to push Roman like that. They're
I hope
trying
he
to
turns
establish
heel.
him. Yeah, I think it would. I think he should.
I think that's the only way he's going to get respect is if he turns heel.
I feel they're kind of pushing him the John Cena route, but it's like
too much.
Hey guys, the John Cena route hasn't worked for years.
John Cena was great this year, though, or the
U.S. Open
towards the end
Challenge
of last year. Holy smokes!
Yeah, that was really fun.
Some of the most entertaining John Cena stuff I've ever seen, and I was a proud booer of John Cena up until that point.
I feel I have to agree with you. I feel like it was the perfect use of him because he wasn't like I feel when he was in the main event, it was like just enough. Give me something else. So at least he was out of the main event. Yeah. He was doing something fresh. He was working with new guys. It was new matches. I agree. It was the most exciting I've ever found John Cena, and this is someone who totally booed John Cena. What do you think about Roman Reigns? Are you a fan, or like because there's like a lot of negativity towards him now, which I kind of don't get.
I had quit watching wrestling about the same time. Well, I quit watching wrestling for about 4 or 5 years, and that was like the Shield and Nexus and a bunch of that stuff, and came back into it. So I didn't know Roman Reigns. I didn't know all those guys that were in the Shield. I felt like
so. You just got back into it recently, or like
within the past 2 years?
Okay,
yeah. It was just dull. I would fall asleep watching Raw every night. It was just, why am I watching this? I'm instantly gonna fall asleep. But it got better, and then NXT just really revitalized it for me. Yeah. Just in the amount of time that I've seen Roman Reigns, I know he's a good wrestler. I know his heart's in the right place.
Yeah, the person, you're cool with the person, the character.
Cool with the person, and I know people that know him and say he's the nicest, most likable guy ever. But the push sucks.
Yeah, I think the character development that they give him is awful, and the writing for him is like, it's like, who would talk like that? Like they should book him like they booked Steve Austin.
I feel like he could also be like a Sabu character that doesn't talk ever.
Yeah.
He's just like a strong guy that stands in the corner and can wrestle. Because he's not great on the stick at all.
Yeah. Yeah, he can't really talk. Keep his... or get him a manager. Like, if Paul Heyman
for
was
God's
working
sakes,
with...
tell him to stop smiling. Right?
Yeah, he should be a bad. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah, like, he shouldn't... He finds everything funny, which really bothers me, too. It's just like, this is a serious feud. Like, you should be angry.
Yeah, it seems like someone got in his ear and said, Cena smiles. You should smile, too.
You're right. That could be... But at the same time, I really hate the internet blowback towards him. I feel it's kind of unfair.
It is, yeah.
Like, it's just... It all started, actually, I feel, when CM Punk quit and he went on Cole Cabana's podcast and was kind of telling the story about how the management wanted him to make Roman Reigns look strong.
Right.
So because
I listened to that one.
Yeah. So, like, that... I feel like that kind of set into these fans' minds that, like, oh, you know, it's cool not to like Roman Reigns because CM Punk, like, kind of buried him.
Poor guy, though. He is trying everything he can possibly do.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's making all right money, so you can't feel feel that bad. But I agree, yeah, like he's really trying to do everything he can. He has pretty good matches. I think he's a good wrestler. The only problem is the mic and the storylines they give him, right?
Yeah, right.
So let's talk about NXT. I love NXT. I got into it 2 years ago, really, when the network started, when it started airing on the network, and I was watching the Takeover special, and I was like, whoa, like this is like a Ring of Honor show.
Exactly.
But with like WWE production.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who are some of your favorites in NXT right now?
Bayley's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Her Sasha Banks match during that pay-per-view was just off the hook.
In Brooklyn or the Iron Man match?
Both were
great. Yeah.
But the Brooklyn show especially was just like, wow, these girls can really go.
Yeah.
I like the Vaudevillains.
Yeah, that's a great gimmick. That's ready. I like American Alpha.
Simon dude.
Yeah, Simon Gotch.
He's so skinny that his stomach concaves into his chest. Like,
oh wow!
He's the skinniest looking dude. He looks like he's from Auschwitz or something.
But then he has the thickest thighs I've ever seen because he wears that singlet without the legs.
Oh, I'm talking about the other guy.
Oh, Aiden English.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
The one without the mustache.
Yeah, Aiden English. Okay, so he's the one with the concave.
He's so skinny. Oh my God, it's weird to watch him. Samoa Joe has been my favorite for a while. In TNA, it's so funny that they never say the words TNA ever.
Not that it matters because no one
no
one really watches that anyway.
Who else do I like?
I like American Alpha.
I mean, the girls are all awesome, really.
Yeah. So do you watch TNA? Do you keep up with
American Alpha?
Yeah. Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. Yeah. They're like modern Kurt Angles. I love it. I feel like I really want Kurt Angle to be back in WWE. And like it'd be cool if like they did a new Team Angle and he was their manager or whatever.
I could see him doing maybe one more match, but I know he's on that run where he's doing his last matches ever or something.
Well, just for TNA.
I hear he can barely walk.
Yeah, he's like I'm sure his body's broken down after like 20 years of wrestling and also the Olympic stuff and everything, but that would have been cool. So, have you followed any indies? You mentioned Ring of Honor and whatever.
Been watching Ring of Honor ever since it got on cable. Like within the past year, it's on Nessun, which is the local sports network. I've been watching New Japan, which is blowing my mind.
Do you watch it on Access or
Yes. I'm still so new to it. I don't know everyone's name, but Okada, awesome.
Yeah, Okada's like I feel like they're Ric Flair.
Nakamura. Amazing.
Nakamura's coming to NXT.
I can't wait. I don't know how his gimmick is going to do, though. It's a flamboyant gimmick that I'm not sure Americans will latch onto. I don't know.
Here's the thing. When I first got into New Japan, really got into it, it was Wrestle Kingdom 9, which was their WrestleMania last year, the one that Jim Ross announced.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Good. Yes.
So... And, like, immediately Nakamura stood out to me. Like, I didn't know who was who, but I was like, this guy, this entrance, this charisma is the best. So I feel like he will transcend.
And his matches turn into real street fights.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's an MMA fighter.
He's
can't
do that in WWE. Rob Van Dam learned that the hard way.
Yeah, you can't do but he could adjust. I feel like he's a pro. He's been doing it for 15 years. He knows what he's doing out there. He's going to be great. It'll be fun. So, New Japan is awesome. Ring of Honor, who are some of your Ring of Honor guys who you like down there?
AJ Styles was awesome in Ring of Honor for whatever, and New Japan as well.
The Bullet Club.
I love, the heck is his name? Castle.
Oh, Dalton Castle.
Dalton Castle.
Yes.
Has the best entrance I've ever seen in my entire life.
Agreed.
I like ACH.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't have a lot of dudes in my memory, locked in my memory banks, but
Dalton Castle, that's another one where I feel like maybe 10, 15 years ago, because this guy plays a very flamboyant character. His nickname is the Peacock. And
from the Catalina Islands.
Yeah. So it's like, I feel like 10, 15 years ago, that would have been a heel. Like, people would boo that, like, because of the mild homophobia in wrestling. But now I feel the tide has turned where it's like a very, like, people are into the homoeroticism of it.
Right.
Like, it's cheered.
Maybe it's the Gold Dust fans. I don't know. But he's not overdoing. He's not making fun of. He's just...
it's totally laugh with.
Yes.
It's a very tasteful character, which I think is so awesome. And he comes out with these two, like, pretty half-naked boys who he uses as step stools. I love it. He's the best. He is going to be a huge star.
And he's a great wrestler, too.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to talk to you about, too, was, you're a graphic designer, and I dabble in a little graphic design.
Oh, right on.
And I feel very influenced by pro wrestling.
Sure.
Like, that's what kind of got me into graphic design, was just, like, drawing pay-per-view logos as a kid.
Right
and,
on.
like, then, like,
WWE is on it with their design work.
Yeah.
I love that they separate the colors and just use them for certain shows, and their graphics are very easy to read.
Yeah.
And I think they've taken a few ideas from ECW here and there as far as T-shirt designs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And ideas for colors and stuff.
And I've noticed you kind of incorporated some, like, you had an ECW-inspired Killswitch Engage shirt.
KSE instead of ECW, yeah.
So that was cool. What are some of your favorite logos? Like, what are some of your... Do you have any...
Favorite logos that I've done, or just favorite logos?
Favorite wrestling logo.
I love the NXT one is so good.
Mm-hmm.
It really jumps out as being my favorite. I've always loved the Raw logo. I used to love the Raw is War.
Yeah, the stencil.
Yeah.
My favorite was Saturday Night's Main Event. I don't know.
That's a good one.
Yeah, just like the retro vibe. And like the old WrestleMania logo, like the gold and purple. Now I do like how for every WrestleMania they have like whatever town they're in, it's kind of represented in the logo. Like this year they're in Dallas, so they have like the star and the horns.
Right.
So it's cool. I always want to like go in there and like just hang out with those people and just just sit in on a brainstorming meeting.
I think it'd be fun. That would be a place I'd love to work for. If this band thing ever doesn't work out, I would love to work there, and it's not super far from my house.
So you could just drive to Stanford and hang out. That's cool. What about, let's see, what else was going to...
the name of the record, Incarnate.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I was watching wrestling when I thought that one up.
Oh, really? Is that a little Brock Lesnar reference?
A little bit, yeah. I get a lot of ideas while I'm watching wrestling. Watching Ring of Honor, I can't remember the name of that valet, the guy with the glasses and the long hair that carries the book. Yes.
Yeah.
That book looked like
no, Ring of Honor is Truth Martini. That's
Truth.
Yeah.
That book looked like a pizza box. I was like, holy shit, we could do a pizza box set for our new record. Mm-hmm. And that's where that came from. We did a pizza box set for our new record. Mm-hmm. The kit comes with an apron. It comes with a pillowcase. It looks like a bag of potato chips, so you're sleeping on a bag of potato chips. It's got a pizza slice patch. It looks like a pizza slice. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of other random stuff. But I saw him carrying something in the ring that looked like a pizza box. I was like, what a great idea. Even though it wasn't it. It just like I was brainstorming while watching wrestling.
That's cool. Any other wrestling inspirations that you got in recent time?
None that I can think of right now, but Incarnate was definitely, I was like, oh, man. I mean, people are going to know that I'm stealing this, but...
Nobody picked it up. Yeah. That's great. I guess because if you called it Beast Incarnate, then
right. No, I
people
had to
would
take
know
that out.
right away.
But I was thinking of another word that I could use in front of Incarnate to make it less like Brock Lesnar, but it just kind of works as is. And Jesse knows what he wants when he hears it or when he sees it. So in making covers or song titles, I help with song titles. I help with naming the records. As soon as he hears something, he's like, oh yeah, I can attribute this to this song and this works with this song, and then it all falls into place. So he loved it as soon as he heard the word Incarnate.
Have you managed to soften anyone's distaste for pro wrestling over the years? Are the other guys kind of getting into it, or do they still?
We were watching wrestling in the back lounge because we are only allowed to watch it in the back lounge of the bus while they watch baseball and football and all sorts of other sports up front.
Now, when you say we, who's we?
It would be me, Josh, my roadie, sometimes our light guy, sometimes our merch guy. But Jesse was in the back lounge this particular time that I'm thinking of, and Neville was wrestling. And he's like, oh, my goodness, I could see myself watching this all the time. So we could have swayed him at least for that night.
Oh.
He hasn't watched it since, but he really saw the physicality that Neville throws in there, and he was really excited about it.
Neville is insane. I feel
So
like
good.
he doesn't even showcase the insane moves that he does.
Right.
Like he holds back, which he should.
He's great in NXT, too.
Yeah.
He's a good champion.
I don't know if you've seen him on the indies before and as Pac, but like
No.
he
What
can
was his
do
name before?
Pac, just PAC. And like there's a match him versus Sami Zayn, El Generico from like PWG, which is just unreal. Like the moves he's just so athletic. And there's a lot of indie guys now, which I'd love to like. I don't know if you follow the indies like PWG. Have you
Not
heard
so
of
much.
Pro Wrestling Guerrilla?
Only stuff I can really see on TV.
On TV, right. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like,
And there's so much on TV that
there's
it's almost
so
hard
much
to
now.
keep up.
Yeah, there's
That's
a
what
lot.
I'm saying. I don't know if I can add another show. Although I'd love to get El Rey Network.
Yeah. Oh, Lucha Underground.
It's the one I haven't been able to see, and I just hear the best stuff from.
Yeah, I've just like I got into it when it first came out. Then it was kind of like, all right, I'm watching too much wrestling. I need to scale back on something.
Right.
But then I heard so much good about it that now I'm like trying to get back into the new season. And yeah, it's they have a lot of really, really good wrestlers that are just cruiserweights, the high flyers. That's kind of what pops me. What I really enjoy is like the cruiserweight style.
Let me ask you a question. How do
Sure.
you feel about watching these cruiserweights and all these high flyers doing their moves when Daniel Bryan, had to change his style and now can't wrestle at all anymore because of concussions? Does it make you think twice about it? Because it makes me think twice about liking that stuff.
That's a great question. And it's definitely something I have thought about, and like, it's definitely give and take. Because like, while I don't want these guys to kill themselves, watching them attempt to kill themselves is very entertaining.
Yes.
So like, for example, with chair shots, I hate chair shots now. Like, especially to the head,
because
I don't want to see it. Like,
especially to the head.
Yeah, to the head, it's like when somebody tries to do it, they don't do it in WWE now; it's banned.
Right.
But like in Indies or in like TNA, when they try to do it, I hate it. It takes me out of the suspension of disbelief, and it makes me like angry at the promoter for allowing this, because it's like, this is just it's been proven to fuck with people's heads. It doesn't take away from my enjoyment if they get hit in their back or not.
What do you
at
feel
all.
about the curb stomp being banned?
That I thought was stupid. That I think is just.
I think it's real stupid because you can tell that move is not doing anything.
Yeah,
to
it's fair.
anybody.
I think it's just they didn't want kids to copy that. I
Right.
think that's why they did that.
Right.
But with like the high flying moves, like with the flying headbutt, like I think that should be banned now, because clearly that's not a good thing. But
that
like,
what's up thing sucks anyways, though.
yeah, that thing is stupid. It's like I wish the Dudleys were allowed to like
I know.
be like evolved, like
If
not
they-
play the same
even
character.
if they just got on the mic and just started ripping on the crowd like they used to do,
Yeah.
they were so entertaining just talking.
Yeah.
And they would talk for like 20 minutes before they'd even wrestle.
Yeah, Bubba is one of the best heels, and they don't let him talk at all. They just do the nostalgia stuff, but whatever. But yeah, no, I love the flippy stuff, so I can't. I feel like a shooting star press. I mean, it's dangerous if you kind of fuck it up, but if you land it properly, like there's not really.
Shouldn't be too much.
Yeah, like any of those stuff. So that I'm fine with. But
It does make me think twice, though, now.
Yeah.
It's just really scary that anybody could go down at any minute. And the deaths in the rings that have happened recently,
Yeah.
just like, oh, man. Maybe people are going too far.
it is. I do hope that they are taking care of themselves, but I also feel the issue is that they wrestle too much. They wrestle 5 days a week.
Oh, my goodness, you're right.
And it's like, I look at the house shows reports, and it's like there's 2,000 people there. It's like, is it really worth it? Like to do this every week in front of like
Take out the
2,000
B squad,
people?
the guys who aren't getting much airtime,
Yeah, and it's like, scale back on your untelevised. Like, you have to do Raw, you have to do SmackDown. You're getting paid for, so you got to do those. Scale back on the live events. Give them a few extra days to recover. Like, I feel like that might go a long way.
Yeah.
But
But those house shows are fun to watch.
they're the best. We were talking about before the mics were on. Like, that's where you got to go if you want to see WWE live. I've been to a Raw live, and it is the worst experience I've ever had.
It's the only one I haven't seen. It's one of my favorite shows.
I love Raw. I can't watch it live. I have to watch it on delay so I can fast forward through all the recaps.
I start getting heavy.
Seeing it live, it was after like an hour. I'm like, wow, I'm like ready for bed. And it was like, oh, it's only like 9:15. There's still 2 more hours of the show to go.
Because there was a lot of talking going on?
The pacing of it was just super slow, and with the commercial breaks, there's nothing really happening.
Yeah.
Or they'll show commercials in the arena for like whatever the corporate sponsor is of the week, you know? And it's just like, show me wrestling. That's why I like the house shows, because it's just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
There's no stopping the momentum, whereas with live taping, there's a lot of momentum stopping.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. I just went and saw NXT in Albany, I was telling you earlier, and so much fun. House show, not taped. People were just having, it just seemed like the wrestlers were even having a good time with it, because there was a lot of pressure, I suppose, to perform on TV. What
were some of the standout matches there?
There was a 4-way dance with Austin Aries, Sami Zayn, who else? Baron Corbin and Samoa Joe. That was really, really good.
Wow, yeah.
Super good. I like Asuka a lot. She had, I think, the opening match. It was just a squash match.
She's like a female Brock Lesnar to me. Like, what woman can beat Asuka? Yeah. Nobody.
I like it.
She is unstoppable.
It's fun to watch, too.
There's a
those are the two standouts.
She in Japan, if you have some time to YouTube, there was a match where it was a intergender match with her and this guy named Marufuji versus this guy Suzuki and this other woman who I don't remember. And this guy Suzuki, his gimmick is that he's just the biggest dick. And the whole match. And so the crazy thing about Japanese intergender matches is the men and the women are allowed to fight each other, whereas here, when the women are in the ring, only the women are in the ring. When the men are only men. So this guy Suzuki beat the fuck out of her, and like it was, as a viewer, it was a little uncomfortable to watch. Like it was to the point where I'm like, I don't know, like what's going on?
Was she bleeding too and all that?
She wasn't bleeding, but he was like laying in the forearms and like it was, so the storyline of the match is like, oh, this woman wants to fight me, like I'll show her what it's like to fight a man. And like he beats her up so bad that his tag team partner, the woman on his team, comes into the ring and is like, stop, and he like shoves her away and is like, I'm gonna beat her up, and then so whatever, this match is like cemented in my head that this woman is the toughest. She's like, I'm not afraid of these women. Like, this guy beat the shit out of me. And I was, and so I kind of thought, like, I was like, I don't know if this is right, you know, like seeing a man beat up a woman, like this seems really wrong. And I think this guy might have taken it too far. But then I read in the comments that the promotion that this was for was actually Asuka's own promotion. She booked this. Okay. She wanted this. Wow. She was like, yeah, like beat me up. I want that to be the story, which is like, that made her so much cooler to be like, she's a tough woman.
She wound up losing.
She did, yeah. Like he basically beat her into submission. Like the ref kind of stopped it.
Yikes.
It is a very tough match to watch, but it's like knowing that it made me like, all right, well, she was cool with it. It wasn't like this guy went too far. But
she's got a great gimmick. She's got a great entrance theme.
Yeah, she's great. Stoked. She ruled. I'm really excited for her. I'm really excited for all the NXT people to kind of like come into WWE. I want to see what Finn Balor is
Nakamura going to be in WWE or NXT?
Well, I read he's going to start in NXT to kind of just get acclimated to the style, but they signed him to a main event contract, like a main roster contract. So he's not going to be in NXT for too long.
And I heard Daniel Bryan was bummed because he really wanted to wrestle.
Yeah, I was so excited for that when Nakamura got. It was so crazy when I first got into Nakamura. I was like, this is the type of guy that could never make it in WWE. Like, they're never going to...
Immediately what I thought, and then all of a sudden he got signed.
And I was like, oh my God, this is unreal. Yeah, because I saw him live. He was with Ring of Honor last summer, and it was so cool because they played in a single-A baseball stadium in Coney Island.
Oh, nice.
So seeing wrestling in a baseball field is already so cool because they set up the ring like behind home plate.
Yep.
And so Nakamura comes out, and he just like the biggest reaction of the whole night, like bigger than Okada even.
Wow.
And everybody loved him, and he was just so fun to watch, like just oozing charisma, like, and everybody was into it. So it'll be exciting to see how that translates.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll switch up his name. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I hope not.
They like to tweak things, but thank goodness they didn't do that to AJ Styles.
Yeah.
I mean, AJ's got the giant AJ tattoo. I don't know how much you could tweak that name.
You'd have to keep the AJ part at least, and maybe AJ Giles or something. But no, I'm glad they kept the name. I hope they keep, at least just call him Nakamura. Like Shinsuke might be a little hard.
Yeah.
But I think Nakamura is a good name.
That could work.
Yeah, and I'm really I think they're calling him Nakamura in NXT because they've already taped all the shows up to it, and he's spoiler alert, he's facing Sami Zayn. Okay. So they announced Sami Zayn versus Nakamura. So hopefully that'll work out. It's
good to see Sami back.
Yeah,
I'm not the hugest Sami Zayn fan of his in-ring stuff. I think it's good.
Yeah,
he's definitely like an underdog. He's like a Daniel Bryan trying to beat his way to the top. He gets squashed a lot. But just happy to see him back doing what he loves to do.
Yeah, and he can definitely put in a good performance, which is what I think is important. But thank you so much, Mike, for hanging out. We
Rippin', this is awesome. Best interview of the day.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear it. That's why I started this podcast. I was like, everyone's done talking about metal. Let's talk about pro wrestling. I know a lot of metalheads.
I jumped at the chance to do this.
That's great. So who are some other other metal musicians that you know that are big wrestling guys?
Mike Martin is my kind of go-to guy when I want to find out what's going on with some of the upper tier WWE guys. He's what the heck is his name? Jesus, drawing a complete blank. I talk to Mike Martin a lot. I talk to Howard Jones is a huge wrestling fan. Who else? There's not a lot, but occasionally you run into a few people that like it.
I'm going to run out of guests eventually on this show.
What's that?
I'm going to run out of guests eventually just because I get everybody. But no, I think,
Andy Williams from Every Time I Die.
Oh, that's right. He's going to be I really want to get him on the show.
Fan. We always talk wrestling whenever. He used to actually wrestle at one point.
He's starting up again.
Ladder match. Is he?
Yeah. He has a match in
he's huge.
A month or two. Yeah.
Really? What promotion?
It's out of Toronto or something. I forget what it is. Just some indie. I don't remember what it is.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Killer.
Yeah, he's back in it. He's been training.
Though.
Yeah. You got to get a metal pro wrestling meetup going.
Yeah, right.
Where we could all just hang out.
Seth Rollins talks to Mike Martin a lot from All That Remains. And we did a show last year. It was a Halloween show. And Seth asked for a Killswitch hoodie.
Oh, nice.
Through Mike Martin. So I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, give him 3. Give him 5.
Can't pay for
Send a whole box of them.
It's a world champion.
If he wants to. I'll give him anything he wants. But that was really cool.
I interviewed Seth too, and I think he name-checked you guys as one of his favorite bands.
Oh, nice. It's always fun to hear that people appreciate us, especially in things that I watch and look up to.
Yeah, so that's cool. I'm excited for Seth Rollins to come back. I kind of miss him.
Yeah, soon?
I think he's 2 months away. Yeah, he's already training without his knee brace or anything.
Well, that's good.
He's on his way back, so that's very.
You don't
exciting.
want him to rush it, though.
No, take your time, but
not back for WrestleMania, obviously.
No. Yeah, the WrestleMania card at this point, I think, is set.
It's falling apart, isn't it?
No,
everyone's getting hurt.
They
think Reigns is going to be back for that?
Yeah. He's definitely back. He just got a nose surgery though.
Didn't even look real when it happened. Did you think that was a real?
No, I don't think it was real. I think he just had a pre-existing thing.
Now that makes sense.
And they
because it didn't. The blood looked a little too red, and it just,
there's footage of someone in the front row with their cell phone they shot, where Byron Saxon, the announcer, hands Roman Reigns something right before he starts bleeding. So it's assumed that's just fake.
And then all of a sudden he was out. So I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, it looked like way too red, the blood, because the blood is a darker, maroon burgundy.
Especially out of the nose, too.
Yeah. With all that snot.
What are you excited? I know we were going to end it, but what are you excited about? What's your favorite WrestleMania match happening this year?
The match, so for this year WrestleMania, I'm looking forward to Dean Ambrose, Brock Lesnar. It's
going to be good.
Any Brock Lesnar match, I always look forward to.
There's no way Dean Ambrose can win that, though.
No, but I think the story is going to be that he just won't give up.
No.
Or
Heyman turn?
No. I don't want Heyman and Lesnar splitting up. No, that I don't need that. So that I'm really looking forward to the Shane McMahon Undertaker match because
Do you think that was what the match will really be, or do you think Shane will come up with like a proxy person?
I've heard of a bunch of people say this, but I feel like that has to be the match just because it's like that's what they're advertising, like, you know, and he's
So
training.
out of nowhere, though.
Yeah, it does seem weird. Like, why is the Undertaker cool with this?
And Undertaker really wants to wrestle Sting, his best friend.
Yeah.
And I would think a Hell in a Cell match would be like the ultimate one to just say, okay, this is our last match ever.
Well, Sting can't wrestle anymore. Seth Rollins injured him.
That's it. Right.
Yeah.
That's it for him then?
Well, he has to have like huge neck surgery that he's been putting off, and that neck surgery, that's like the one that
The
Edge
ender.
got. Yeah, and that's like at least a 1 year recovery. But like at his age, he's not gonna get back. They're not gonna let him back in the ring.
God, that Seth Rollins match looked nasty.
Those turnbuckle bombs.
You could tell right when he just wasn't even in his right mind anymore for that match. And I wonder if Sting was supposed to win that match and then just was like, forget it, because it seemed it ended really fast.
It didn't make sense too that like Rollins lost his first match to Cena and then won his second match when he's already weakened versus a fresh opponent.
Right, and they really didn't use Sting like they should have.
Yeah, I was really bummed that he lost last year too at WrestleMania with Triple H, because I was like, "There's no way." Like, it's his first match in WWE, first WrestleMania. He has to win. Like,
Didn't make sense
it made
to me.
the whole match didn't make sense. But like the fact that he lost, like, really annoyed me. Like, why?
And then he was giving credit to Triple H.
Yeah, just stop it. But with the Shane McMahon Undertaker match, though, just going back to that, like, I have no idea how it will end, because it's like Undertaker. He has the one loss to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, but he's otherwise undefeated. So it's like for him to lose, it would be a very big deal. Plus the Shane McMahon, because Shane McMahon is like not a real wrestler, so it's like he can't like lose to Shane McMahon fairly. There has to be some thing, and I want Shane McMahon to be in charge of Raw.
What about
so I want him to win.
Undertaker turn, and then he'd be with Shane to get Shane on Raw to get Vince out of.
Yeah, I could see that where Undertaker like beats him to a pulp and then covers himself.
Yes, and then lays on the ground. And let Shane get on top of him.
I'd be totally fine with that. I'm really curious about the storyline of that, and also the Divas Championship match. I'm looking forward to Charlotte versus Sasha.
How do you feel?
Becky.
How do you feel Charlotte is performing as opposed to the way she used to wrestle in NXT?
I feel like all of them are a notch below how good they were in NXT.
Right.
And I feel that's a big problem for WWE is like when someone gets called up, they don't do a good job of reintroducing them to the broader audience. And I feel like something is always lost.
Especially with the history that she's had.
Yeah. But those three had amazing matches in NXT, whether it's a one-on-one.
How come that doesn't translate? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I don't know. I think maybe whoever the producers are in WWE are like stifling them or something. I don't know. It's hard to say.
But still, it's up to them to put their match on. I just
they work with an agent. Like they don't work just on their own. But also, I think probably with the WWE matches, they don't have as much time to practice. Because in NXT, they live in Orlando. Right. They have that gym there, the Performance Center. So if they have a big match coming up, they're in there every day
banging it out. Really
making sure it's perfect.
Fine-tuning it.
Whereas this, they're working 5 days a week, so it's a little more improv.
Yeah. I just got the call from our tour manager. It's time to do sound check.
Oh, very
exciting.
Super fun. Mike, thanks again for entering the Squared Circle Pit.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
I appreciate